Hello everybody. So, as I have due to explain, one of the remits of this channel we're running is to find a way of just very, very passively trying to become a little bit better off than we already are. And it's not the easiest thing in the world to make money passively or to make the money start working for itself. However, I think there are certainly ways around it, but certainly it involves a fair bit of capital to invest, and not everybody has that sort of money. For that sort of money, you're talking probably about people who can probably afford to do it and not really afford to lose anything in particular. This whole getting into business lark, like quite a lot of other things in this world, is a gamble. So it's good to go into such things knowing absolutely the risks, because, well, the idea that I was going to call this video how to even make as little as 1 pence passively daily, and I suppose there's a fair bit to say about even making as little as 1 pence daily, but to be honest, for that sort of gain, you may as well just sort of wander around a town looking at the ground until you find like a penny or something like that, because technically that's making money passively, and it's, well, it's not great, truth be told. But therefore, is there something perhaps we're missing? Or maybe is 1 pence daily a little bit too little for you? What if you want to go slightly higher afield? Now, at some point, I want to be able to explain via a series of other videos how I will be able to make even 1 pence passively a day, and then 5 pence, 10. Even as, if we can make, because this has always been the interesting case, that throughout 2027, I want to make passively, at the very minimum, £1 a day. Because, think of it this way, £1 a day for an entire year, that's 365 quid, which is, some people, it's the equivalent of not going to work for about 4 days. And getting paid an extra 4 days graft for, well, doing nothing or just earning it very passively, it's not exactly the sort of thing to be sniffed at. But with that being said, because we want to test the waters for stuff like that, let's see what we've got in terms of how to make at least $500 daily. And this comes from Mr. Mark Tilbury, so please make sure to check him out as well. And let's see what he's got up his sleeve, because it does pay to take some advice from people who are probably slightly higher up the ladder. But as I said, starting as low as 1 pence a day is nothing to be embarrassed about. We all have to start somewhere, so it doesn't get any lower than that. With that being said, let's go.
Hey, it's Mark, and today I'm going to be talking about how I earn money 24 hours a day. And no, it's not by having some crazy sleep pattern. I'll leave that to the Navy SEALs. So you've probably guessed it from the title. Let's talk about 5 of my favourite passive income sources and how you can earn an extra $500 a day or even more. Over my years in business, I have pretty much come across every one of the different passive income strategies. If you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that I started off with nothing. No qualifications and certainly no money. But as I slowly came across people that inspired me, I started using their passive income ideas in my life. I am so grateful to all of those people that I've met along the way, from the warehouse worker to the multi-millionaire businessmen. Each one added to my life in a different way. Now, if it's all right with you, I'd love to take you on the same journey as me. And no matter where you are in your life, you will be able to take advantage and some tips. And
to be fair, Mark does raise a really good point about this, is that it's never too late to start again. The difference, however, is that if you are starting again, it doesn't necessarily mean to say that we know by proxy that you failed before. But what he is trying to get at is that, guess what? Well, it's only relevant pending what you have actually learned from your previous experience. There's no, you can't, just keep going on forever, keep making the same mistakes. At some point, you're gonna have to, like, in some small way, win every so often. Sometimes it's about as basic as that, but you also got to like listen to your gut a little bit as well, because if it's not working, maybe it's the time to like reevaluate a bit. I've got to like stop. You see, I'm already like working overtime in terms of like trying to like get things going. So that's the also really interesting thing about this whole try to make money lark, is that all of a sudden you feel like you're doing several different things at once just to rake in just a little bit more.
Tricks away that apply to you, and you can use them to make more money passively and change your life, just like I did. So if you're ready to take the plunge, buckle up and smash that like button. But what is passive income? Now personally, I don't like the term passive income, as it suggests that you're going to be making a ton of money by doing nothing at all, when nothing could be really further from the truth. When I first heard about it, I thought it was some kind of scam, you know, like a get-rich-quick thing. You know, I always think when it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Now, your teachers at school are going to tell you to go to university for you to get the best jobs you can. But the downside of that is you have the same 24 hours a day. So if you truly want to be rich, you need to find a way to make money while others are asleep. Imagine if you spend a couple of days working.
They say work smarter, not harder. I think they also said that about Jordan Belfort once before, about how when he started his very first day, I think he was like trying to like qualify as a dentist. And it says is that if you've joined this hoping to make money, you've come to the wrong course. And I think he just sort of got up and left from there. And bear in mind, this is the same guy who made $20,000 selling like ices down the Jersey Shore.
But you get paid for that work forever, even when you're asleep. If you want a day off or you don't feel like working, then it really isn't a problem, because with passive income, the money is still flowing in. That's what passive income is. It's still a lot of work, but so's working a day job. Passive income just keeps paying you. The real aim is to have as many different passive income streams as possible, so eventually they can cover all your living expenses.
Opening doors.
Any extra that you make, you can reinvest. The dream is to invest the money you earn by working and live off the money that comes in passively. You then are able to retire early if you choose to do so. In my teens, I came across my first passive income idea. I used to visit a warehouse during my paper rounds as a teenager, and I would always overhear the warehouse workers talking about the stock market. Every week they'd be discussing a new investment they were going to be making. I didn't fully understand until one of the guys casually mentioned that he was a part owner of ExxonMobil, which is a massive oil and gas corporation. Wow. But what got me really interested was he got paid a proportion of the profits in something called a dividend. Before this, I'd always thought that the rich were the only ones that could invest in the stock market, but this really opened my eyes to the fact that anybody can do it with just a little bit of money. So let's break it all down. What exactly is a dividend? And how can you get involved with very little money and start earning some sweet passive income? So when you invest in the stock market, you're buying very small parts of companies called shares. These provide companies with money so that they can use it in their business to move things forward and hit their targets. So you're really valuable to them. Without shareholders, public business...
Well, I was about to say, no, your money is valuable to them. I think that's a little bit of the reality for it, because if you didn't have that money, then would any company really see you as anything more than just a glorified customer? That might be one of the harder things to like get through to some people, but it's sadly true, is that the world will keep turning whether you're here or not, and some people seem to think that they have this like sense of self-importance and worth that thinks that, well, if I weren't here, the company would literally go kaput. Only insofar as, you know, being a shareholder is concerned. If I was, let's say, if I was the CEO of a conglomerate and I passed on without sharing, you know, any of my business strategies, intel, endless contacts and endless resources, do you think it would survive in the same way? I'm sure it would take some form sooner or later, but stuff like that, I think that knowledge is probably just as valuable.
businesses can't operate. So a dividend is kind of like a reward a company gives you for being a shareholder in their business. Now, not all companies pay a dividend. It's completely up to the board of directors. But if they want a dividend and they pay themselves, it means they have to pay you. And that board of directors will make that dividend as long as it makes sense for their company to do so. This money's paid out in cash on a monthly, quarterly, or even a yearly basis. You might have heard about people buying stock low and selling it high. But with dividend stock investing, you never have to sell the stock to make money back. How fantastic is that? This is all great, but how do you actually get involved? Imagine I owned a business that sold, I don't know, what we got here, coffee mugs, Mark's mugs, and I was looking for a shareholder. And I came to you and I said, look, I need some money to fund my business. Would you like to be a shareholder? All you got to do is put $1 into the mug, and then I will give you 4 cents back every year. How does that sound? This is known as a percentage yield. And in this particular instance,
Now, again, some people may say, and I'm sure Mark will explain this shortly, is that might not sound, great. However, if Mark's Mugs becomes the trailblazer of the mug market, that 4 cents a year could turn probably as high as 40,000 a year, on the back of investing as little as £1. With that being said, I'm sure there's it's still a gamble, because if the company goes bankrupt, I think that's kind of the end of your investment, even as little as $1.
Will be 4%. If there's 100 cents in a dollar, a 4 cents dividend, that's what you're going to be getting. I know that sounds quite a small amount, but over time that could build up, especially with a few different investments. So you'd have thought the trick is to find the companies with the highest percentage yield, because you're going to get the most money back. That's what I thought too.
No.
But when you're thinking about investing, it's very important to think long term. And a small company that is paying out lots of money to its shareholders has less money it can use to improve its business. And you can wave goodbye to that passive income source, as it'll all be cut off. So when you're looking to invest, make sure to check these things so you can make a good decision for the long term. You can find out all this information on trading apps like Robinhood and Webull. If you're interested, you can also get 2 free stocks if you sign up with my link in the description and deposit $100. Individual stock investing is risky though, so I would highly recommend diversifying into different sectors. So if something happens to one industry, then you have others to keep you safe. My main focus now is on low-cost index fund investing, as it's relatively low risk and low effort, but it doesn't give you as much passive income. I talk a lot more about index funds in many of my other videos, so make sure to check them out. So it really depends on your goals and the time you have to research individual companies. My second passive income idea is selling online, and this came from a technology whiz kid called Alan. Now, I used to use eBay personally, but I just couldn't get my head around how I could use it for my business. One day I bumped into Alan, and this was a little kid that I used to help put his Lego together with, and I found out he was now running his own business, grossing over $100,000 per month on eBay. As you can imagine, I wanted a little bit of that. And this rapidly turned into a major revenue stream which sells my products all around the globe, every day, 24/7. There are lots of different ways to sell products online as a side hustle or even as a business. And you can use platforms such as eBay or Amazon and many others. You don't even have to buy the products, because you can do drop shipping, which is where you just market the product and the supplier sends it directly to the buyer without you even seeing or touching it. I prefer using eBay because I have my own warehouses. But if I was just starting out, then drop shipping would be a good side hustle to improve my marketing and business skills. Some good tips for selling online are basically take care of your profit margins, particularly when you're drop shipping. You need to be sure you're making money, as any fool can give away the product, but a good entrepreneur always makes money on every single sale. And also try and find items that are either very popular or very unique, because you're going to sell so many more of them and potentially make more money. And do a better job of marketing and promoting than your competitors. Now this usually involves writing your own descriptions and adding personal detail in and taking better photos. Even if you have a great product, it will not sell if you don't market it well. My best mate Stuart was the inspiration for my third passive income idea. Stuart is an extremely successful businessman. We've gone on multiple ski trips and he's actually been my best man at my wedding. For as long as I've known Stuart, he's been investing in property. Real estate is one of the safest long-term investments you can have. And it took me a little too long to realise this. Like stocks, I originally thought I would start investing in real estate and making passive income once I had enough money behind me. But that couldn't be further from the truth. There are so many different ways that you can make passive income from real estate without even buying a property. So imagine there's a big pot, so say something like this, and everyone wants to be in the property game but can't afford to own their own house. So they pop their money in the pot, thank you very much. Have we got some more? Oh, thank you very much. Just like so. The person in charge of the pot, me in this case, can go and take this and choose a range of properties to invest in. And once they start renting them out, you'll be able to share in the profit of the investment and what it creates. This is known as an investment crowd fund. But even though you know where your money is, you don't have a lot of control over it. If you want more control over a property, then you could always go the rent to rent route. This is a pretty simple idea. Firstly, you find a house or an apartment in a popular area that you can rent. Then you have a chat with the owner to see if he's up for renting you the property, which you can then go on to rent to other people. So you can actually be a landlord without actually owning the property. A great way of doing this nowadays
although the landlord has to agree.
Like Airbnb. People are making millions using this strategy, but you need to be aware that the more properties that you take on, the more responsibility you have for paying the rent. So it's a good strategy, as long as you're willing to take on the risk. The way I chose to invest in real estate was to save up a 20% down payment. Then I purchased a single family home as I believed it would give me the best passive income possible. And if you're not at the stage to be able to do that yet because you don't have enough money, start saving. You only need 10 to 20% deposit. As an added benefit, the tenants also pay off your mortgage. So you're left with a property that is completely owned by you, and you have the ability to rent it out monthly, bringing you a nice bit of passive income. My fourth passive income idea is starting a YouTube channel. My son has always enjoyed watching YouTube, and he actually grew his own YouTube channel, which landed him trips all over the world with brands like Red Bull, at the age of just 20 years old. This really showed me the power of social media. And recently, when I had a bit more time, I realised that I could make videos helping people to grow their wealth. An added benefit was that we could put ads on the video to cover my equipment costs, which allows me to make better quality videos all through a...
Yeah, but the problem is that, listen, I understand this game really, really well, but let me just say is that on average, you would need somewhere around like 100,000 views per video, and you would need to like make somewhere about 20 videos a month to even possibly consider the thought of doing it full time. Because let me tell you something right now is that even 100,000 views, and if your video was completely fine and safe in terms of how shall we say, for advertisers to put their placements on, and sometimes they can be really finicky about these sorts of things. But what some people are even less finicky about is, well, maintaining that standard. It's a gamble as much as any other, because if it goes out there and it's not pucker, your business is dead. So I would say production value is absolutely key.
Passive income source. Actually, don't tell him, but we're only 2,000 behind him on subscribers, so don't forget to subscribe and we'll beat him by the end of this month. This is something anyone can do with just an iPhone and some basic YouTube knowledge, which can all be found for free. Guess where? On YouTube itself. Now, ads aren't the only way to make money on YouTube. Another passive way is affiliate marketing. I understand that not everyone wants to be a YouTuber. So a good way to make some easy money would be to film simple review videos on a product and ask people to use your Amazon affiliate link to buy it. Think of it like Unbox Therapy. The amount of views they get on that channel every day is just mind-blowing. Whenever they buy from your affiliate link, that you'll get paid a small commission. The most important thing is that the video content is always relevant and it never goes out of date. So once you've made the video, you could be making passive income forever. My fifth passive income idea is selling digital products, and was inspired by a meeting that I had with Richard Branson. You know, the guy that owns Virgin. I discussed with Richard how the world was changing and how information was becoming more valuable than gold. What an age to live in. Just think about some of the top companies. Airbnb has no real estate, Facebook creates no content, and Netflix isn't even a TV channel. The internet has truly changed the game. This simple meeting really had a dramatic impact on my life and my business. As I started to be more open to new online opportunities, I started selling a digital flight simulation program. We only had to create that once, and then we can sell it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, passively, in my sleep. It was perfect. Here are some ideas that you can try. Create an app. One of the ones with the in-app purchases. You've probably seen a lot of YouTubers promoting Raid Shadow Legends. I mean, this would be a perfect brand deal if I had one. You can upgrade your armor in that, your weapons, you name it. There's an upgrade for it for a little bit of money. And that money is going straight into the app developer's pocket, because guess what?
Yeah, but unfortunately, a lot of those games, they're most typically referred to as like gotcha games, where sometimes whether or not you get anything that might in some way increase your ability to like be better at the game is almost entirely down to pay to win. And usually quite a lot of those games are discountenanced and really disliked by members of the community, because it suggests the idea that, well, the game is unbalanced as long as you're not paying for it. And it just, that's the trick like a lot of free apps fall into, is that if you want the actual services, we can do it, you have to do it in on the app. I think it's just sort of, well, how it's a shady sort of thing, and I'm not really a fan of that sort of thing, but I can tell the sort of people who are, and maybe there's something to be said about, guess what, they are the market.
He doesn't have to go out and make a sword. He doesn't have to go out and make a new suit of armour for you. It's just a little bit of code, and he can sell that simple line of code over and over again. And how about this? Not everyone has the time to build up a social media account. So if you don't have a lot of money, but you do have a lot of time, you can create a theme page on Instagram, for example, and then sell that on for a profit to whoever wants to buy it. The most important thing to remember is your most valuable possession is locked away in your brain. I'm talking about your knowledge. Your knowledge is something that can be packaged into some kind of online product and sell that many, many, many times over. I'm talking about online courses, ebooks, anything that takes a little bit of time to create but allows you to sell your knowledge over and over again. I've met so many great people along the way that have helped me build my passive income sources. So never underestimate what someone can offer you. Just because a guy works in a warehouse does not mean he doesn't have an angle on the stock market. And just because someone used to like sitting and playing with Lego models, it doesn't mean that he's not going to grow up to be a great businessman and an eBay supremo. Anyone can surprise you, including yourself. You're going to love this next video. I picked it specifically for you, but don't click on it just yet. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
Well, I certainly think we can certainly take that on board later on. Anyway, so that's kind of like what I wanted to like leave right now, and there are some probably really interesting parts of all this, including amongst many things the thing about index and like paying the small dividends is really. I think that's probably quite. It's probably more useful than maybe they sound, but at the same time, is it anywhere near as straightforward? And I always think it's very, very. And bear in mind, this was made like what, 5 years ago, something like that. Yeah. So how much of it has changed? And well, at the same time, he certainly seems to be doing well. So guess what? It might entirely be possible that, you know what, maybe he just sort of knows how. Maybe he knows exactly how to do it. So, putting that into perspective, I have to raise the next question, or just to end this off, is that do I feel a little bit more knowledgeable about what I'm meant to be looking out for? Do I still feel as if I can easily make as little as £1 passively daily? Do I still feel confident that, guess what, that we can probably make more than that? The answer is yes to all of those, by the way. But what I do need to know right now is, well, maybe just the thing to do is to get started. And what better time to get started than right now? So I will see all of you guys again next time. Thank you.